Okay, so real quick, the video ended up taking a little longer than I expected, so in the video I'm going to be putting in the clips what ends up winning the award, so look for that in the video. You have gotten so tall. You have gotten very tall, and you move. That's new. What's up, guys? It's your boy Chrysalis here with my girlfriend at my side. So today we are going to be doing our quick predictions on the Oscars, specifically the 97th Academy Awards. I just did reviews or videos, whatever you would call them, on all 10 of the Best Picture nominees. If you want to watch any of them, there is a playlist for them in the channel, which I will link in the description once I get this uploaded.
They're really good. Highly recommend going and checking those out.
Yeah, a lot of people really liked my I'm Still Here review, which is surprising and really awesome to see.
It was a really good review.
Yeah. And it's also a reminder to like the video, and subscribe if you really like the video, and leave a comment and all that jazz. Anyhow, with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and start it. The categories we are going to skip are going to be Best Animated Short, Best Documentary Feature, and Best Documentary Short, since I have not watched any of them. I'll just be real.
Me either.
I haven't watched any of them. She hasn't watched any of them. So the rest of them we're going to go over, and we're going to save Best Picture for last. Anyhow, with that... You see what gets left out, right? Anyhow, with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to go over who we personally think should win if, we were given a ballot and we were allowed to vote, and who we think will probably win. So I'll go first. Also, I will be leaving the list in the description since I'm not going to go over each individual name. So you can pull that one up or just find a ballot. There's like probably 15 of them on Google you can find. So yeah, me personally, if I had a ballot, I would give the Best Actor to Timothée Chalamet for Complete Unknown. I think he was absolutely wonderful as Bob Dylan. His performance was by far the strongest thing about A Complete Unknown, so that's who I would vote for. But knowing what I personally know about all of the awards ceremonies that happened prior to the Oscars, I have to give it to Adrien Brody for The Brutalist. Also fantastic. I don't know what it is about Adrien Brody, but he just plays Holocaust survivors so just phenomenally well.
It's the best thing to be able to play. I think, for me personally, the only one that I actually got to watch was Conclave, but Ralph did a fantastic role in that movie. Just really being able to kind of bring everything together and kind of having to play that part of piecing things while still leading, and both like outward and inwardly kind of having to play multiple parts of what kind of character he is in that movie. But like he said, I think The Brutalist is probably going to be the one that gets it. Actor in
supporting role. This is going to be one where I personally think the one that I think should win, who if I would personally vote for, is probably going to be the one who I think will win, and that's Kieran Culkin for Real Pain. He was phenomenal in Real Pain. He definitely just exemplified what a supporting role is supposed to be in that movie, and was the shining thing about A Real Pain, in my opinion.
I'm probably going to go with you on that one. The only other one that I would say is probably going to be a competition would probably be, I don't know though, because Nora was really good.
Yeah, Nora was great.
So Yura did a really good job in that role. Very much played the part. I think I'm going to go with the Nora just to be something different.
Actress in a leading role, I would vote for Mikey Madison. I have been a big Mikey Madison believer since I watched Sonora, and I think she is going to have a lot of tough competition with both Demi Moore and Fernanda Torres also running against her, but who I think is probably going to win, it might be a toss-up between the three, but it's probably going to go to Demi Moore for The Substance. She did phenomenal as Elizabeth Sparkle in The Substance. definitely just being handed a script where a lot of it is a lot of onomatopoeia and actions and not a lot of dialogue, and just gliding through that role, as well as just the role of an aging starlet that kind of feels like that her time is up.
I think this one's gonna be a really tough one. Me personally, I would say if I had to pick one, it was probably gonna be Cynthia for Wicked. Wicked is just one of those movies that's so big. It went wild. It did really well in its box office, and like it's still going. I'm still hearing so much about Wicked. I know so many people personally who went and watched it like 5-6 times in a row, because it's a fantastic book series. It's a really good Broadway show, so having that come to the big screen was definitely a big thing. And there's just been tons and tons of press about it, whereas the rest of them I haven't heard as much on. So I think in popularity, Wicked is probably going to be the one that's going to get it for Cynthia. However, Nora has also had a lot of traction, so it could be Mikey as well. And as you said, Demi did really good in The Substance. But if I had to vote for just one, I'm going to say Wicked's probably going to be the one to get it, with Cynthia playing that role.
Actress in a supporting role. I've had a little bit of a change of heart when it comes to who I would vote for recently, since I had recently rewatched The Complete Unknown. Up until that point, I thought that if I had a ballot, I would give it to Ariana Grande, but I'm actually going to give it to Monica Barbaro as Joan Boyez in A Complete Unknown. She was probably the only actor/actress to rival Timothée Chalamet's performance in that film. But the writing is kind of on the wall, knowing what is winning in other award ceremonies, and it's probably going to go to Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez. The strongest thing about that movie, I will say, but me personally, I just think that she doesn't really hold a candle to the rest of them. I'll just be honest, but again, it's what a lot of people are voting for, so it's probably going to go to her.
I, again, would probably say Wicked's definitely going to be one of the ones that's pretty far up there in vote. So I did not get to see the rest of them, but just from what I've heard for a lot of them, Emilia Perez has heard a lot of traction, both good and bad. So Conclave was really good, but I don't think it's going to be supporting role in that one. Was Isabella the nun?
Yeah, she was a sister, I guess, yeah.
If she was the sister, the one that was like the main sister, then I would say it could easily go to her, because it was such a sly, just kind of background role that played its part really, really well.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, without her in that position, I don't think Conclave would have come to the ending that it did.
Yeah.
So, those would probably be my thoughts there.
Best animated feature film. This is a tough one.
It is.
It really is.
It's so hard to choose.
Yeah. If I was handed a ballot, it would honestly be a tie between Flo and The Wild Robot. I'm not writing out the possibility of a tie at all. If it was me voting for this, it would be a tie between the Flo and The Wild Robot. They're just so great. But if I had to pick a winner between the two, I'll go The Wild Robot. I think the animation was just spectacular. I think the story was fantastic. It is just such a well-made movie and a return to form for DreamWorks Studios in so many ways.
I think I would probably also have to go for The Wild Robot. Maybe Memoir of a Snail as well. I haven't seen it personally. The only one I got to see off this list was The Wild Robot, and it was really good. Oh, and I saw Inside Out too, but I think with it coming out so early in the year, whereas the rest have kind of come closer to the Oscars voting list and everything else, I think it kind of took a back seat. Inside Out 2 does have some really, really good things that went on for it. You know, you get the introduction of some new emotions that you usually get as you get older as a teenager. So the way it delved into that, I thought was really good. But I think The Wild Robot, probably for me, is going to be my winner there, just because I know it's one I've seen, and it was a really, really good film. And tons and tons of traction. If Flo got it, I would not be surprised.
I would not be.
That's definitely one of the most anticipated for me to watch.
Yeah, I would not be surprised, and I definitely would not be mad, since Flo is just phenomenal.
I mean, for me and myself and I, it's got a black cat in it, and I love the animation style that's in it. It's something different and unique that we haven't really seen too much before in any of these bigger movies.
Yeah, especially how there's like next to no, if any, like audible dialogue in that movie whatsoever. A lot of ways, Flo, if you have not watched it yet, you definitely should. A lot of ways, the closest a European country has gotten to like Studio Ghibli, in my opinion.
I would agree on that one.
Yeah.
So if it got it, I would not be surprised, and I wouldn't be mad about it either. Like, I think it's just such a gorgeous film, just from like seeing the ads and stuff for it. So I am very excited to watch it, and if it wins, I have no issues with that.
Best cinematography. This is a tough one. Me personally, if I was given a ballot, it would be a tie between Greg Fraser for Dune Part 2 and Jaron Blaschke for Nosferatu, since they both did absolutely phenomenal with the cinematography. So many memorable shots in both films. But kind of seeing the writing on the wall with a lot of the award circuits that I've been paying attention to, it will probably go to Lowell Crowley for The Brutalist, since, again, a lot of great shots in that one, but it's accumulating a lot more accolades than the 5 that are nominated.
I want to see Nosferatu win. I'll be full on honest. That movie was gorgeous. It took a movie from 1922 that, if you've ever seen the original Nosferatu, you can tell compared to like today's cinema, like it can be a bit of a bore to like kind of have to sit and watch through, because it's all very like almost stop motion without that smoothness that a lot of stop motion animations and stuff get. And it's all black and white. It's silent film. So while it's something I personally do love, I am a fan of Nosferatu. It was the birth of a lot of vampire shows and movies and things like that.
Absolutely.
Brought back to us by SpongeBob. Wildly enough.
Shout to SpongeBob.
Which is why a lot of younger generation does know it, but I've always been a big fan of like Dracula's and vampire stuff anyway, so like you almost can't be a fan without having Nosferatu on your bucket list of things to have seen and watched, and having this remake of it done by Robert Eggers was phenomenal. The cinematography and the way it's shot, it just feels a lot more cohesive and current without being something modern. Like it definitely gives you that old time feel. Like this movie could have came out like years and years and years ago, but it's brand new. The lighting in the movie was really good. I loved the way they used the different color tones in it. I 100% want Nosferatu to win on this one.
Yeah. I also just think that Blaschke is just overdue an Oscar at this point for being one of the strongest things about a lot of Robert Eggers' films, since he's been his cinematographer since the very beginning, since The Witch.
And they've all had some great shots in them.
Oh, yeah.
And just the above and beyond effort that they put into those, creating new film screens and sets, and going to the old school costumes and the lighting that they'll go through, I think just makes it definitely something he's overdue for.
Yeah. And speaking of costumes, if I had a ballot, I would personally give it to Linda Muir for Nosferatu. Again, much in the same way that Blaschke has been with Robert Eggers since the very beginning, as has Linda Muir as his costume designer. So I don't really recall if she's ever won an Oscar for like The Witch, or most likely The Witch would have been nominated for that. But I'm pretty sure it's probably gonna go to either Wicked or Conclave, since costume design in both was just so great.
All the costume designs on this entire list that I've seen, I haven't seen a complete unknown, but I've seen the rest of them. And in all honesty, I feel like the costume designs on all of them were like spot on. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a tie-up between Nosferatu or Wicked. Again, Nosferatu has some very old timepiece moments to it.
Yeah.
And with Robert being as picky about things as he is, you know those costumes are got to be like on point for like spot on to the time periods and stuff. But now with Wickeds, you did have a ton of great visual moments that had revolved with the costumes. The way that, like, you know, at the beginning you've got Cynthia and Ariana's characters kind of looking a little opposite, but towards the very end it's like they had kind of flipped costumes a little bit with like their sleeves and stuff like that. So giving some really great symbolism in those. So either one could be a great option for me. I'm not going to be mad who wins costume design on any of those.
Now we are at Best Directing, which is, along with acting and screenplay and picture, one of the big five of the Oscars. Me personally, not pleased to see Denis Villeneuve not on this list, which I've gone on and on about in all my videos. Me personally, I would love to see Sean Baker win for Nora. He's won a couple in the awards circuit already, but Baker just does a great job at directing Madison, Borisov, and everybody else through this moments of zen and elation from the marriage, and then the chaos of just the Russian oligarch family trying to just contain everything. And Baker just did a phenomenal job. I believe he's also nominated as producer for Best Picture, and he's also nominated for editing. I would personally like to see Sean Baker win for Best Director. It could go to him, but I think for director it may go to Brady Corbett for The Brutalist, since he's already won the Golden Globe for it, and he just also does a phenomenal job with The Brutalist as a whole.
I'm with you. I really think that Nora should win because the way it just transitions from this happy moment to this really sad moment to the elation and downfall and the hype to the slow, just all those different transition periods between the emotions and the speed of the movie is flawless. Again, I haven't seen the rest of the ones on this list, but I have heard a lot about The Brutalist as well, and I would say it's a toss-up.
So for film editing, I think it may go to Sean Baker again. I think the editing for the different camera angles and the way everything just transitions is just so seamlessly done. And I think that's probably what will win too. I think Sean Baker not only has my vote, but is probably the one to win for editing.
I would love Sean Baker to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Although, I honestly feel like Wicked was really good. Because a lot of those angles and edits that you had to do for that movie were pretty complex. So I feel like some of the shots, especially like with them being in the air and then like the different heights of everyone, as well as like capturing like the entire scene while still being able to focus on one or two characters in that moment, I think that's fairly difficult. So I wouldn't be surprised for Wicked to get it.
Yeah. International feature film. So this is a movie from a foreign country. I have personally seen just about all of them except for The Girl with the Needle. I think that's a movie, so I'll eventually get down to watching that soon. So if I had to vote, I would probably give it to I'm Still Here, since I just think it's the superior out of all the movies on this list. But, you know, again, another writing on the wall thing, that's probably going to go to Emilia Perez, even if I'm Still Here, in my opinion, is just better.
I haven't watched any of these, so, you know, I really can't say for sure on any of them. I would love to see Flo get it, though.
Oh, yeah.
I want Flo to have at least one award out of these.
Yeah.
Because the ads on it just made it so pretty and just really gives you that sense of adventure.
Yeah.
With that beautiful artwork that you usually get with like the Miyazaki films and such as well. So I would love to see Flo have at least one award. One.
Just at least one. Makeup and hairstyling. I'd love to see Nosferatu win this. Not just with the fact that they had to just essentially transform Bill Skarsgård into this demonic entity, but just everyone else's hair and just how crisp a lot of their makeup is was just so phenomenally well done. But if I had to guess who's probably going to win, it may go to The Substance. A lot of visual prosthetics that were put on Margaret Qualley, as well as I believe Demi Moore as well as like the very end where you had like the monstrous Elizabeth Sue moment. That was also just well done and just looks so yeah, if I had to pick who's gonna win, it'll probably go to The Substance.
I feel like I probably should have at least Googled some of these to see like some
Oh,
ideas on it.
oh yeah, if you Google, I think it's Elizasu. I think it's pronounced Monstro Elizasu.
Okay.
And so like, just Google that, and it's just.
I'll have to do that after
kind of a spoiler. So watch The Substance first if you can.
I'm not worried about seeing it one way or the other,
Yeah.
but I feel like I should have watched that part. I think Nosferatu should definitely go though. The transformation and the time it took to transform Bill Skarsgård was a lot.
Yeah.
And for all of the characters to have such flawless makeup, and you know, as the movie goes on, really watching, you know, the main characters kind of tend to fall apart more. You don't look like that naturally, so you really have to lean more into like your makeups and effects and stuff to do that. So, you know, there are multiple characters that as the movie goes on, you kind of see that degradation come through a bit more with them. And then for Bill, like, that's a lot of hair and makeup and styling to get done, both through costume, prosthetics, the makeup, the hair. Like,
stash.
It's a lot. Yeah, the stash is wild. So I think out of all of them, that one is probably one of the more complex movies to have filmed with that kind of stuff. But now I think Wicked, I mean, Cynthia's fully green. You know, that's also another one that takes some time. And of course, you've got to have Galinda looking like she's all nice and cute and preppy and pretty, making that makeup very flawless. As well as all the other characters being that very bright, wild hairstyles. You know, that's not easy to do. So I'm going to say one of those two movies is going to be my winner.
Music original score. So if I had to pick, I would probably have voted for Conclave, because I think the score for Conclave is just so good, even if it's so simple, but it just adds to like the tension and the isolation of all of the cardinals and the nuns just throughout the film. But if I had to pick who might win out of all these, I think maybe The Brutalist. The Brutalist score was also fantastic and had a lot of stylistic shifts all throughout, so I wouldn't be surprised something as complex as the score for The Brutalist ends up winning.
I'm going for The Wild Robot. It was such a great film, and the music really created these emotional shifts in a world where it's not exactly 3D, you know. So animational filming, I feel like, definitely has to have really good music to go along with it to help create like that human emotional feeling, especially when none of the characters are human at all. You know, you got robots, ducks, and other animals and stuff. So, and personally, I love the score as well. Like, I've been listening to it a lot. My other one, of course, would be Wicked, because Wicked's such a great movie, and the score for it just really ties everything in together. Really helps pull on those emotional strings when you feel like you need them. Really helps you get that upbeat and fun, lifted moment during other moments. So I don't want to say too much for anyone that hasn't watched it yet. Best original song, I don't have too much of a horse in this race, so I would probably personally give it to Like a Bird from Sing Sing. It was just great. Once I got to the end credits of such a hard-hitting and emotional film, but it's probably going to go to El Mouth for Amelia Perez, since it's just been racking up the awards like consistently. I wouldn't be surprised to see El Mal take it. I think Never Too Late was really good. Elton John is just one of my favorite musicians, so I may be a little bit biased there, but there's not too many songs I've heard by him that I'm like, on. Like, I usually really enjoy his music, whether it's something more upbeat, like Crocodile Rock, or if it's something that's just a bit more emotional. So Never Too Late for me is like one that I think I enjoy. So that's gonna be my vote, but like you said, El Mal's been really racking up some awards. So all right, production design. So this is like essentially set design. So me personally, I personally think it should go to Dune Part 2 if I had to vote, but
I believe Wicked has been racking up the awards for production design as well. I mean, they had to plant thousands of those flowers, thousands of them, and just how the Emerald City looks and how the Academy looked. It wouldn't surprise me if Wicked won.
Wicked or Nosferatu for me.
Yeah.
For the same reason on Wicked, like there was a lot of real life time that went into that. But Nosferatu, like the rats. The rats is what got me. Those were all live rats.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And most of them are trained.
I know. So to me, I'm like, that's a lot of effort right there. And they filmed in like legitimate like places. They went to the castles and stuff like that. So
literal Transylvania.
Yeah, I know. Like, as one does.
As Robert Eggers does.
Yeah, you're right. The man looked at like what 8 lighthouses and was like, none of these are good enough. Yeah. So he built a lighthouse for that movie.
Yep. Best sound. I think it should go to Dune Part 2. I think the sound design in that film was just so impeccably well done. But again, kind of a writing on the wall moment once more. I think it's probably going to go a complete unknown since it does a really great job at putting you in the moment of Chalamet singing as Bob Dylan, whether it's that moment in the hospital where he's singing to Woody Guthrie or the final moment where he's at Newport Folk Festival 1965 going electric. So if I had to pick who's probably going to get the Oscar, it'll be a complete unknown.
I feel like it's probably going to be that one too.
Yeah.
So the Bob Dylan movie did really, really good. I haven't seen it still, but from what I've heard with a lot of other award shows, I can't talk, award shows, as well as like just in general about like from other people having watched it and stuff, they said it was very captivating.
Visual effects, me personally, I would have to give it up to Dune Part 2 since, I mean, it's one of 2 movies in the last couple of years that captured a nuclear explosion so well as just a lot of the stuff with the worms and like how the Harkonnen look. I just think the people that did the visual effects to Part 2 should get their award, but out of all these, I would not be surprised to see it go to Wicked. For me, it's either it will go to Dune Part 2 or it'll go to Wicked.
I think Wicked's probably going to be the one to get it. Not that I'm mad about it. I'm a big Wicked fan, as we can tell from how many times I've voted for it to win something. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I think Dune Part 2 is really good as well. The worms are so fun and cool, especially that piece when it's the baby worm.
Oh, yeah.
Loved that. But I do think Wicked had a lot of very stunning visual effects that went through, and I would not be surprised to see it win.
So we've got writing, adapted screenplay. It is, just screenplay based on a book, a play, etc. Me, personally, out of all these, I would like to see Conclave win for Best Screenplay. Nickel Boys was also great as well. It's still amazing that it was nominated for as little as it ended up being. But me personally, I would vote for Conclave for screenplay since a lot of the direction and a lot of what was written for screenplay was just so immaculately well done. No, actually, I think it's just going to go to Conclave. I think Conclave is going to take it.
I've only seen Conclave, which I am perfectly fine with them getting it. I'd say if it had any competition, it'd probably be a complete unknown.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd say that would be the other one that would probably get it.
Original screenplay, so this is just, the writer or the director, the idea came to them in a dream, and then boom, it's on a page. If I had to vote, I would like to see Nora win Best Writing for Original Screenplay. It may actually also win. That'll be my choice since it's just a well-done script overall, and the writing and the narrative for the film was just, again, one of the strongest things about it.
I would give it to Honora myself as well. So the acting on it's spot on, and honestly, I think it touches on some great subjects that you don't typically see in as many films, especially not too many that get nominated for the Oscars. So that one would be mine. I would say its competition's probably The Brutalist, just because I've heard so much about it being such a good movie and like how great it was and how it's won a few other awards and such. So those would be my two.
Last but certainly not least is Best Picture. My favorite movie out of all of these last year was Dune Part 2, so I would just love to see it just throw a curveball in all the predictions and be our Best Picture winner. But okay, so the last 3.5 minutes of the video ended up having muted audio because of an Amber Alert that went off on my phone. So in the future when that happens, I'll just stop the video and then re-record and just, you know, work that into another video, or just eventually get a camera of my own. But ultimately, she and I felt that Anora was going to win Best Picture. I think she, of course, wanted Wicked to win Best Picture, and of course I wanted Dune Part 2 to win Best Picture, but we both realistically just felt that Anora would win Best Picture. Anyhow, that's about it. If you caught the Oscars, what were your predictions beforehand, and what did you think of them? And yeah, that's about it. This is your boy Chrysalis here, signing off.